Hi, I'm Cat Bell, and today I'll be showing how I make mini pom-poms. And this is a technique my aunt showed me. And there are various ways to make pom-poms besides this one. This is just the technique I'll be showing today. So the first way to make pom-poms is just to go out and buy a pom-pom maker, which is this little plastic device. It's round and it pops open and you wrap the yarn around each half, and you can do two different colors or do two different colors on each side, and then you just tie it off, cut the sides, bam, pom-pom. There's also a fork technique, which is sort of similar to what we're doing today, where you just take a fork, wrap around the yarn, and then once again tie it off, cutting off the loopies, and then your pom-pom. There's also two DIY templates out there. There's a circular one where it's kind of this donut shape with a slat in the middle, which is where the tail goes, and that one's most similar to the pom-pom makers that are out there. There's also a rectangular version where it's just a rectangle with a slat in the middle, which is once again where the tail goes to tie off the pom-pom. And if you don't have just cardboard hanging around waiting to be made into crafts, a facial tissue box usually should be strong enough for this craft. There's also a way where you use 2 toilet paper rolls and once again wrap the yarn around it, and then between the 2 toilet paper rolls is where your tail goes. And today the way I'll be making a pom-poms is with a fork, and we'll need of course yarn and then scissors just to cut off the ends. So I'm going to start off by making the tail, and I usually use about the length of the fork, so roughly here. So there are 4 tines on this fork, and so this just goes through the middle one, and you want it to be about even on each side. And then from there, rather than just wrapping it around, which is the typical fork technique, whereby then you just tie this and cut off the ends of the loops, we want to keep the loops. So what you're going to do instead is just keep this as close to the fork as possible so you don't waste as much yarn, and then you're going to weave it between the tines. Just go back and forth, and then you're just going to push it down. And what this does is just leave a gap at the bottom. So if you forget to do the tail or just don't want to do the tail at the beginning, there's this little gap here where the middle tines has a longer gap. You can just cut the tail at the end and then push it through. And so we just keep wrapping it around. And the nice thing about this technique that isn't in the others is that you can leave it. So if you have something to do real quick, all of a sudden there's some sort of emergency you need to go, you can leave it and your pom-pom stays safe. And that's pretty much my favorite thing about this technique, and especially I forgot to mention the hand technique because it doesn't use any tools but besides your hand and scissors. So that one you just wrap it around your hand, and now this hand that's wrapped with yarn is just useless, and so if something happens, to take it off and they'll start all over. At least the other ones might still stick depending on how tightly you wound it around whatever the object is you decided to use. And this one will pretty much keep its shape up until about right here on the fork. So you can see how I leave it and it doesn't come off. Oops. Yeah, sometimes the tines can stab into the yarn, as yarn isn't just like one piece. It's like a woven, probably like 3-4 strands, which is how you get such poofy pom-poms. When they cut it, they don't just leave the yarn how it was, they just kind of tease it out, make it extra fluffy. This technique keeps the loops, so the loops is what gives it its depth, weight, something. going back and forth. And this is probably the last one, yeah. Now if you don't want to cut it off, because it'll come a little looser, so like this one that I had prepared earlier, yeah, you can see how it comes off. So this one does like come off a bit. But this is just to show how you can just pop this through. And you can just pull it through. Anyway, back to this one. I see how at the end it does kind of want to come off. But at any point in the middle, it usually stays pretty good. Okay. So for me, I'm going to just leave this tail for now, since I already have my tail cut. And what you're going to do is carefully tie this in the middle time. So you pull it through the middle part. And you just tighten it as much as you can. And then we're going to gently pull this off the fork. And you want to keep this tight as you can as you pull. So it takes a little bit of doing, but you just don't want to mess with where the tie is. And then you just pull it as tight as you can, and then I like to double knot it just to feel extra secure. And this is the reason I like to just leave this, so that I can make sure that it's as close to the loops as possible. And you just fluff it out a bit. And there you go. Mini pom-pom. And if this one's a little too long, like I did it actually perfect for once. So if this is a little long, you can just cut it at the end. But yeah. Mini pom-pom. And my aunt liked to use these for her slippers that she would knit. She hasn't made any lately, or hasn't at least put the pom-poms on. They are a little bit more comfortable without them, but they are a lot cuter with the pom-poms on. But they can also be used for other things. I know some people like to make wreaths. Could probably do like a mini wreath or something. Like Easter's coming up, so it's like these be good Easter colors. But yeah, so pom-poms can be used for a lot of different crafts besides just making the pom-poms itself. And yeah, overall it's pretty fun, and it's one of the simpler things. I mean, who just, you know, fork, scissors, some yarn. It's not a lot of stuff. And this technique, like I said, makes it so that it doesn't come apart as much as the other ones where it's just wrapped around and might get loose or something. And yeah, that's it for today. Bye.